So please join me in welcoming Chris Hammond.
Thank you. Thank you. It's going to be interesting. I pace. So while I'm setting up, I'm going to just move furniture around so I don't knock things over completely. Although my guess is I will anyway. Oh, damn, this is heavy. All righty. So yes, I'm going to talk about narrative science today. And unlike Stuart yesterday, who had 5 minutes and a very small number of slides, I have a half an hour and 283 slides. So I'm going to try to get through as many of them as possible and completely inundate you with information. So narrative science transforms data into stories. And rather than belabor what that means, I'm just going to jump to the punchline. What we do is we take data like this, unambiguous, either numerical or symbolic data, and we turn it into this. Royal leads varsity Red Bucks to 10-2 victory. Michael Royal came up big at the dish and on the mound, leading varsity Red Bucks to a 10-2 win over the Wheeler Wildcats on Wednesday at Wheeler. Royal had a busy day at the plate, collecting 3 extra base hits. Royal singled in the 2nd inning and doubled in the 4th, 5th, and 7th innings. The Wheeler Wildcats had no answer for Royal, who cruised on the rubber. The Wheeler Wildcats managed just 2 hits off of the varsity Red Bucks pitcher, who allowed no earned runs, walked none, and struck out 2 during his 3 innings of work. It's actually a nice baseball story. It's expressive. It's interesting. It's roughly an AP style, and it was written for a Little League game. It was one of, on the order of 375,000 Little League stories we wrote last year. We have a wonderful relationship with a company called Game Changer that allows dads to score Little League games. We get the data, we process the data, and we hand them back a story. This is sort of a nice example of the kind of stuff that narrative science does. That is, we take places where there's data, there are numbers, there are symbols, and we turn it into compelling, interesting, readable stories where no one else, no organization, no group will ever be able to spend the time, effort, or money to write those stories, and we do it at scale. So what do you need to write a story? You need to know what the story is about. You need to know its structure. You need to know what all the individual elements are. From a journalistic point of view, you need to know the angles, when do they apply, and you need to know what the data is. You need to be able to grab hold of that data and do something with it. So we do things other than sports. And I'm not going to go into detail on specific examples, but we do work in finance as well. That is, taking data, mostly from our clients, taking data about how a company is doing, how the stock is doing, or what the analysts are thinking about that company, and we turn it into things like earnings reports or earnings previews. So Forbes is one of our customers. They were kind enough to not only give us attribution, but to actually have a nice description of the company on all of our previews pages. So we take the data that's out there, and we write these stories. And we write these stories in a way that is absolutely indistinguishable from something a human being would write. Of course, there's more to the world besides finance and sports. And so we also do work in real estate. And in real estate, what we do is we take data that describes the sales on a monthly basis in a wide variety of metro areas. And for one of our clients, Hanley Wood, we provide them with stories describing the market conditions and what the sales look like for about 375 different metro areas every month. They just give us the data. They give us numbers, and we hand them back stories. Now, Hanley Wood is actually an interesting example in that Hanley Wood was taking all of their data and providing charts and graphs for their customers. And we like charts and graphs, and we also generate charts and graphs. But for me, I looked at the charts and graphs and thought to myself, this isn't a client. They're already taking care of their customers. They're providing them with the numbers. They're providing them with the visualization of those numbers. And I actually said, your clients must be, your customers must be quite data savvy. And the response was, no, not really. Our customers are developers, construction guys who have moved up through the ranks and have started their own companies. They actually don't want to look at the charts. They don't want to look at the graphs. They don't want to look at the tables. What they want is the story. And so we provide them with the story. Well, how does it work? It's relatively straightforward. What I'm hoping is that I can describe this, and all of you can now afterwards can go home and absolutely replicate the technology and destroy us as a company. That's my goal. And I'm sorry, my CEO is sitting there and he's thinking, yes, Chris, please do that. I want to get home. Our starting point is always the data. Again, numbers, and when I say data, I don't mean paragraphs of text that a human being could read and understand. When I say data, what I mean is numbers and symbols that are absolutely unambiguous as to what their meaning is. Structured data. We take in the data and we do analysis of it. The funny thing about a baseball game is that if you have the data that's the play-by-play, the box score, and the line score, ironically, there is nothing in the data that is a description of who won. You get the final score. It's 10-2. Oh, okay. So you have to do a little bit of work, and I mean the tiny little bit of work, to figure out which team won. Then you have to do a little bit more work to figure out why they won, right? What players actually participated in the scoring. Then you got to do a little bit more work to figure out what plays were the more or less interesting plays. At what point in the game did suddenly the tide turn? Or maybe the tide never turned. Maybe it was at the beginning of the game, one team scored 5 runs and that was it. Or maybe at the end of the game, a team scored 5 runs and they came from behind. We do all of that sort of analysis in order to figure out what's going on, what the facts of the matter are above and beyond the data. Once we have that, we have in our hand facts, a set of facts about what occurred in the game or anything else. Then we actually kind of shift over into a more journalistic point of view. And we think, what's the angle on this game? What's the angle on this preview? Is it a company, everyone is predicting that this company is going to do badly after 3 quarters of doing really well? Is it everyone's predicting that, in fact, after 3 quarters of being level, they're going to suddenly spike because of sales? Right? The question really is, what kind